he wasn't above telling me how weird the boy was.
6 a.m. and already the boy ain't right.
Hello friends and welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest daily cringe content anywhere on the internet. Promise, swearsies, it's just a fact and it's totally science. Go ahead and look it up. Today we're diving into r/Tales of Neckbeards and r/Neckbeard stories. That's right, I doubled up, I combined the subreddits. I guess you can like try and guess which one comes from which. Don't just go to Reddit and look for it because that would be cheating. It's like a fun little game that we play around here. I got a lot of good stuff going on in r/ReddX reads, but I just want to keep my people on their toes, you know what I'm saying? Keep them guessing what's coming next. Stratbeard, Unfortunate Nookie, both of them have new entries. I've also got shorts to cover. I think the Goblin Queen also has a third part that I haven't read quite yet because it's super long, but these are a couple of stories that we'll get in today. And as always, I do hope that you enjoy them. Let me know what you think of the new logo, the new background. Stuff is looking pretty spiffy around here. Big shout out to Darkly Studios over on Twitter for keeping me looking fresh, dipped and buttered. I definitely appreciate it, my dude. So let's get some plugs and disclaimers out of the way, and then we will dive right into some neckbeard cringe. I have a confession. Is someone getting the best of you? The best. All right, I'll stop. I was once a homophobic, toxic, sexist neckbeard incel with a case of the nice guy syndrome. No, I didn't wear a fedora or say, "Belady." But as Uncle Moonhorse always says, it's not the fedora that they wear, but the Fed aura that they exude. So this started in middle school and lasted up until a few months ago. Jesus, a recent transformation. Well, a hearty welcome to the land of the normies, OP. It ain't so bad. I was never fat. I wasn't obnoxious. I didn't consume Doritos or Mountain Dew, aside from the occasional bag of Cool Ranch Doritos, best flavor. I did and still do have acne, though I am doing something about it. The not being obnoxious thing seems like sort of an opinion, but okay, we're gonna roll with that. Edit. I also often had greasy hair, but now I have a phobia of greasy hair and never go a day without washing it, so now I always have clean, poofy hair. God, I hate clean, poofy hair. I need at least a day or two of grease. I'll put some water on my hair, but I ain't gonna wash it every day. The start of my neckbeardery was probably from my porn addiction, but more specifically, hentai. I'm still struggling with it, but it's getting better, and not coming as much is letting my acne clear up. But I did always fantasize about sex and stare at people's chests sometimes. Sounds pretty obnoxious to me, bro. But yeah, you don't need to like flog your knob all the time. Once a week. Keep the pipes clean if you really need it. But if you have a significant other, then you probably shouldn't be participating in that at all, since that creates a stronger bond with your significant other. But whatever, I can't live your life for you, all right? You do you, literally. I did, in fact, have the nice guy syndrome, where I internally complained, "Why do all girls always go after assholes and leave nice guys like me behind?" While at the same time thinking to myself that all women are whores. Fortunately, I made a vow to myself that I would not use any social media, i.e. Reddit or Instagram, until I was 16. And I didn't know what an incel or a neckbeard was until I discovered Fun with Failure and Moonhorse on YouTube during quarantine. Oh yeah, my 16th birthday was on March 26, 2020, so it was in the middle of a lockdown, but I'll get back to the present time a little bit later. Don't just drop your birthday on here, you're doxing yourself, dog. It's not a good idea. I mean, I would suggest staying off of social media, but that would make me a hypocrite, so I'll just say it's not all it's cracked up to be a lot of the time. I didn't have a girlfriend, though a girl did give me a number of another girl back in March 2019. She was nice and cute, but I didn't know what to do and not to do in a relationship. So I had the brilliant idea of venting about how my little brother's depression was pissing me off. And I wondered why I was ghosted that day. This is so gloriously awkward. Oh, God bless you, OP. I thought it was her fault and that I did nothing wrong, thus leading me further down this hateful path. I was once homophobic. I wasn't like a raging homophobe or calling everyone who was LGBT naughty name, but instead I had a more internalized homophobia. And every time I saw a pride flag, the only analogy I can make is the moment in the SpongeBob movie where someone screams, "My eyes!" I'm gonna be honest with you, that sounds pretty much like raging homophobia to me. Even if you didn't lash out at anybody over it, it's like you're so offended by this symbol of something that helps other people represent who they are. It is a bad look, and I'm glad you got over it regardless. I also thought, okay, we get it. You're gay. Now please shut the fuck up. I also had the Chris Chan double standard. Oh, God. This was written 2 months ago, but we're not going to talk about Chris Chan. I refuse. Where I hated gay men, but as I mentioned above in my porn addiction, I had no problem with lesbians. But the wholesome bit of irony here is that I recently found out that I'm bisexual. Oh, so it was like internalized homophobia. And now I look back on myself and know how toxic my homophobia is, and I embrace the pride flag. What a twist! I managed to befriend an exchange student from Japan, and she genuinely was a sweet girl. I didn't harass her, but when I did have class with her, I eyed her. Not at her chest specifically, but just generally at her, as I did have a crush on her. She's since then moved back to Japan, but we are still friends. Now, when COVID happened, I didn't have access to any girls. And I spent a lot of time on the internet. Fortunately, I didn't find incel.co and adopt that toxic mindset. I did discover Fun with Failure and Moonhorse, where I learned about neckbeards, and some of them sounded like me, which disturbed me. In September, I decided to try out Reddit, and my earliest posts were mean. But you can believe that I was definitely told by random strangers on the internet that I was being a dick, and I took that to heart and improved myself. I also got better social skills with talking to a lot of people, and they put down my shitty attitude as well. I also met my first girlfriend here, and now I'm in a long-distance relationship on Discord with a sweet and adorable shy trans girlfriend with plans to live together in the future. TLDR, I was once a hateful, homophobic incel neckbeard, and now I'm a bisexual femboy with thigh highs coming in the mail and an adorable, loving girlfriend. I despise my past self and still have some more personal growth to do, but a lesson for everyone is if you cringe at your past self and want to bang your head against the wall, it at least means that you've grown as a person, and now you are a better person. Hey, high five! Something like what I was going to say at the end here. Oh, and I have something else that I don't know where to fit. So, you know how neckbeards are weeaboos and or bronies? Well, I didn't watch anime or My Little Pony, although I now do watch anime in healthy doses. I had my own phase, Thomas the Tank Engine. What? Can someone please shoot me? Actually, please don't. Just erase those memories from my brain. Also, happy Pride Month. Edit. If you want to see a transphobic asshole making a fool out of himself, grab some popcorn and look through the comments. Well, I have to admit that you have made a lot of strides, OP, but there is always more progress ahead. Keep working on yourself, being the best you that you possibly can be, and yeah, it's okay to look back on your past self and cringe. I definitely do for a variety of reasons. I was never like the neckbeard incel nice guy, obsessed with hentai and Thomas the Tank Engine. Or Thomas the Tank Engine hentai. But yeah, I definitely did have my awkward phase, so I sympathize with you on that, and I'm glad that you're starting to come out of it. I did look for the comments that the OP was talking about and grab some popcorn, but it seems the comment's been deleted, so oh well. I guess we shrug it off and we move on to our next story. And it's from somebody that you might remember. Hey, yo, it's CANINE. You might remember him from the Philly Cheese Jake stories. Well, he mentioned that Philly Cheese Jake had a friend. That was Carson, I assume. And Carson is an alpha male. I'm sure he is. Hey, everyone. Here's my story about Carson, the guy who believed that just because he knew how to shoot a gun, that he was the alpha male in the grocery store. And that's the term that he used, not me. It's pretty basic that real alphas don't call themselves alphas, right? They don't need to. Your alphaness would just be widely acknowledged if you were actually that alpha. I'm going to stop saying alpha because it's making me cringe a little inside. So before we get into the story, let's get some background. I met Carson while I was working nights at my local grocery store. Carson was actually my manager's son, and his dad is the reason that he got a job at the store as the nighttime floor cleaner. I'm so glad I said cleaner and not manager. I've been hearing stories about Carson since I met my manager on the very first day. And while BB, my manager, loved Carson, he wasn't above telling me how weird the boy was. That boy ain't right. To start out, Carson was one of those military nerds. You know the type. Yeah, they play a lot of Arma. Milsim cringe is a different kind of cringe. They know every attachment of every gun off the top of their head and can name military vehicles with just a glance, but they've never so much as been near a recruitment office for some reason. Well, that's what Carson was like, but even worse because he truly believed that he was God's gift to soldiers. Put this guy in any war zone and he'd make it out without a problem. Throw him into Redacted compound, and he'd easily bring you Redacted's head. Whoa, dude, I think this guy's like Solid Snake in real life. Whoa! Oh, and he was extremely proud of his canines. The teeth, not the dog. He thought that they were so much longer than anyone else's, and that made him alpha. Check out my teeth, bro. If this doesn't scream alpha to you, what the fuck? That's so ridiculous. Talk about a reach, man. Only Carson wasn't any of those things. Carson was a 20-year-old living in an old school bus on my manager's hunting property because he'd rather play video games and jerk off than hold down a job. And that was his own dad's description of him. So he couldn't afford to make rent, and my manager refused to let him live with him anymore because Carson stole his $800 rifle and pawned it, and then blew through all that money in a day. What? How? Carson got a coke habit or something. $800 is no joke to go through in a day. But anyways, back to the meat of the story. See, this would have been Carson's 5th job that year, and my manager was understandably getting frustrated with him. Carson wouldn't like the job, and he didn't, but it was either that or getting kicked off of the hunting property as well. So, now he was our problem. Thanks, manager. Within the first week of starting, Carson developed a crush on the sole woman, who was 27, on our night shift crew, Ricky. Oh, we remember Ricky, right? And he could frequently be seen slacking off in an effort to follow her around and speak with her. Poor Ricky, she's just pursued by everybody. By week 2, Carson was telling all of the guys that Ricky said that she really liked him and he was gonna ask her out. He also described what he would like to do to her. Ugh. But I neither remember specifically what those things were, nor will I try. It has thankfully been mercifully blocked out of my mind for a good while now. Now, I've since asked Ricky what they would talk about, and her response was fairly amusing. I don't know, he just kind of talked at me. I barely ever said a word, which is fairly common for Ricky. The girl always was incredibly quiet, but there was one teeny tiny hitch in Carson's master plan, and that was me. This all happened during the time when the other night shift crew were starting to avoid us, so Ricky and I were frequently seen talking to each other after finishing our work for the day. I have explained why in my Jake story, but basically, TLDR, another incel / neckbeard was spreading a bunch of lies about us in an attempt to drive everyone else away. All because Ricky didn't play along with his gentleman routine. Carson didn't like that I was so close to the woman that he truly believed to be his new girlfriend. Never mind that Ricky already had a boyfriend and had barely spoken to Carson in the 2 weeks that he'd been working there. None of that mattered, because Carson had taken a liking to her, and by God, she would be his. Here's some more details about Carson. He was about 5'6" and in decent shape. If he'd taken the time to fix up his personality a little bit, I have no doubt that he'd have no trouble finding someone willing to date him. Even Ricky agreed that he was fairly attractive, but she just wasn't interested. Which was ultimately Carson's problem and had nothing to do with me until he decided to involve me. I think that's the case with a lot of these like incel type dudes. He's 5'6", so he's like, oh, I'm a short cell. Nobody will ever love me. And it's like, no, dude, your fucking attitude is the entire problem. And of course, he can't look internally enough to come up with that answer. So yeah, it must be OP's fault, right? Ugh. Joining up with my least favorite person, Jake, the two of them decided that I was the problem that only they could solve. So they spread the rumor that I was a playboy who would sleep with literally anyone, all in an attempt to get Ricky to stop speaking to me, which obviously didn't work. However, the real problem came when Jake convinced Carson that the lie that they had made up was actually real. And Carson began to stalk us. At one point, he even demanded that my manager, his dad, who was also his ride back and forth to work, should follow Ricky home. Creepy. Just to see if I would show up in the middle of the night. Like, wait outside their house all night? Oh, God, what a freak. My manager, of course, refused to go along with his son's harebrained idea and told him that it would probably be a good idea to stop hanging out with Jake. Jake was in his 50s, the same age as the manager. But Carson didn't listen. Instead, he let Jake egg him on until it all came to a head one night when I was training a new guy. Carson had decided upon arriving at work that it was time that he showed me who the real alpha was. Now, I knew he believed in the whole alpha, beta, sigma male shit. He'd certainly talked about how often other alphas tried to test him, and how he'd put him down without a sweat. But of course, I never really cared. Probably because these stories were made up. He's got to give his life purpose somehow. And how better to do that than lying about being the alphaest alpha of them all? He could call me whatever he liked, so long as he left me the hell alone. Well, while I'm walking around with the new guy, Carson comes up to me and starts talking about how I was a beta, and I should leave Ricky to someone who knew what to do with her. I'm assuming he meant himself. I reiterated that Ricky had a boyfriend, who definitely wasn't me, and that Carson was just wasting his breath. Undeterred and oh so sure in his victory, Carson didn't bother to work at all that night. Instead, he followed me and the new guy, NG from now on, around for 4 hours. And he probably ain't gonna get fired over it because he's the boss's son. What a clusterfuck. Which, you know, this wouldn't have been so bad, except it totally was. Carson had very little of substance to actually talk about. It was mostly just a way for him to talk shit about me to the new guy, even going so far as to call me a compulsive liar and a psychopath. Yeah, I'm not really sure why, projecting, but I didn't really give a shit either. I was there to do a job and go home. If New Guy believed Carson's bullshit, then whatever. That was his problem, not mine. Around midnight, I noticed Carson had been sabotaging us by flipping every other product upside down. This was another attempt to get me in trouble. I knew it, and he knew it. And since he'd been doing it on New Guy's side of the aisle, I hadn't seen him doing it until it was too late. Well, Carson and I got into an argument, and I forced him to go back and fix everything that he had messed with. He didn't want to do it at first, but after 4 years of working on that store, I'd lost any semblance of give a fuck that I had left. Yeah, that's what real alphas do. They just whine and go, I don't want to do it. Bitch, you're 20. Get your fucking head on straight. I started taking pictures of what he had done and sent them straight to his dad. Then, just to make sure that he would get them in a timely manner, I called the manager repeatedly until he woke up and dealt with his goddamn kid. Carson stopped sabotaging us after his dad called him and screamed loud enough to be heard from several feet away. Carson abandoned us on the aisle, which was a welcome development, and I went back to training New Guy. Now, I learned this part later from the manager. During their talk, Carson ranted to the manager about how much he hated me and how all he wanted to do was beat my ass into a coma. My manager laughed at him. As everyone should. Talking shit, crying to daddy. You so heated? Fucking come over here and give it a try, tough guy. Probably not the best thing to do to a clearly unhinged man-child, but yeah, that's what happened. Carson asked if my manager thought he could win a fight against me. Someone 9 inches taller than him and 150 pounds heavier than him. And the manager told me to just leave him alone. Guess what? That did not happen. Oh, please tell me he gets his ass beat. Instead, Carson returns about an hour later, smelling of something strangely herb-like, which was both brazen and stupid as fuck, and he proceeds to purposefully run a shopping cart into my side hard enough to almost knock me over. I looked at him as non-psychotically as possible and told him not to do that again. And of course, he did it again, even harder this time, all the while smiling at me. I stared at him for a hot minute before deciding to be an adult and not smack him. I crouched down to fix something on the bottom shelf, and the next thing I know, the damn shopping cart is coming at my face. Well, you should have seen that one coming. You gotta handle this like nip it in the bud right now. Instinctively, I raised my hand and stopped the cart before it could actually hit me, but any urge I had not to smack the hell out of this kid just flew right out the fucking window. I stood up while keeping my hand on the cart, and he just smiled at me, clearly trying to show off the really long canines that he was so proud of. And he kept that smile until I put my foot on the bottom of the cart and shoved it backwards. It bumped into him, and it knocked him off balance enough to make him fall on his ass. Something happened then. He had this moment where I could tell he wanted to hit me, and I was kind of expecting him to, but of course, he didn't. He just points at me and says, "See, I told you guys he was a psycho." And then he left. Yeah, really alpha move there. Fucking bitch made. He went and sat down for the rest of the night, still refusing to do his job. When the store director opened the next morning, the first thing he asked me was, "Why's the floor look like shit?" Because your floor guy didn't do anything. Oh, and apparently he thinks I'm psychotic. I had to clarify what happened that night to the store director multiple times. Everything I said was also backed up by the security footage from the camera pointing down each aisle and just above the table as Carson sat at it for 3 hours. The store manager obviously did not like the idea of paying someone who didn't do his job, so he called the floor company and complained. Carson was transferred to another store a few days later, but he quit before he could actually start working there. The childliest of man-children. Good God. I really wish he would have got his shit handed to him on a silver platter, though. I haven't seen Carson since, but manager says that he hasn't changed in the years since then. Last I heard, the Alpha Soldier had spent a few weeks being the guy that they sent into septic tanks to scrub them clean with a brush. But he quit because he didn't like the smell. Thanks for reading. What a goon. What a fucking tool. What a stupid meatball. I'm actually kind of glad that OP didn't smack him, because then you'd have that on security footage, but instead just hit him with the cart, just like dude was doing to him. And at the end of it all, really, karma has handed this guy back everything like tenfold. Quit every job that you had. So guess what? Now the job that you're qualified for is going inside of septic tanks and scrubbing them clean with a brush. Good God, that sounds like the worst job ever. It probably does pay well, but makes me real fucking glad to be doing what I'm doing. Although it did take like 10 years to practice the craft and get the voices and the personality all straight. And honestly, I don't think that's something that this guy would have the fortitude or the patience to sit down and do. What are the only things that he's passionate about? It seems like, you know, being an alpha, playing milsim games, and consuming hentai. You're gonna have to learn how to produce something if you want to be a productive member of society, but obviously that's something that's not on his radar. I guess he's 20, you know, he'll probably get it together. Either that, or he is going to have a really rough time when he hits 30, 40, 50 years old. And his dad is just completely sick of his shit. I really do like Kenaren's stories, Kenaren's writing style. So if he posts something else up, especially that Philly cheese Jake, you know I'm going to jump into it. I got this guy on my watch list. It's not creepy, I swear. But regardless, I hope that you guys did enjoy the episode. I hope you'll like, comment, and or subscribe. If you did, maybe check out them links in the description. Ooh, yeah, all kinds of stuff down there. We got plugs, we got playlists, we've got my social medias. Yes, Twitter, Discord, Patreon, swing on through. Say hello to me. I'd appreciate it. We've also got my gorgeous, wonderful, beautiful, generous patrons. Yes, indeed. I'd like to thank them all, as I do every episode, so thank you very much. Calvicus, Fatboy Shrimp, Robert Waits, TSM Kirby, Aaron W, Twisted Child, Delicious Jelly Donut, Candy Sora, Fire Drake, Liverson, Mr. Anime Manga Fan, Silent Revolver, Zero MMX, Magdalene Marshall, Thornrose, Little Lone Wolf, Vanilla Mel, Rouse Tower, Satori, Babsy-kun, Caustic Fox, Disposable Waifu, Aaron Lennox, Fisher Diggy, Hadrian BR, Heathcliff, OG James Cook, a pimp named Jay Crisp, JM Coon, Jerry, John Hero, Miss Monday, Lord Lion-O, Jackets Rule, Melgar the Destroyer, Mirthful Baker, Mr. J, my boy Nat One Nick, Lady Nix, Origami Steve, Katykins and Elizabeth, Sidestep, Cider Drinker, Serrated Ass, Siegfried, Synaptic Boomstick, Brilliant Tamago, Tato Ferret, Teddy the Police, 10-Ton Monster, Dat Duck and Bug, The One True Fusky, Treeberg, Wilmags, Redwind, Goose Says Honk, Leon Embers, Nog Viper, John Indoors, A Normal Joe, Amara, A-Roxers, Cake Jerry, that's a different Jerry. Cinnamon Bunny Dog, KJW, Kajow, Crafty Kitty Cat, Little Ann Woods, Mark 211, maybe next time, Milk Fed Gimp, Miss Duchess, Origami Cam, Princess Rosalie, Ghosty, Raptor Art, Ellie, The Last Shinobi, and the Necrobomicon. We've also got a new friend joining us today. Welcome to the fold, California Keto Girl. And she sent me a very nice message, which I do appreciate. I'm so glad to be your pocket friend, part of your day, and I really do thank God that somebody out there gets my sense of humor, or 11,100 people get my sense of humor. So thank you guys so much for rolling along with me. I hope some other folks will consider signing up on the Patreon, but if you can't do it right now, don't sweat it too hard, friends. I just appreciate you coming on through, hanging out with me, and I hope that you'll come on back and hang out with me again tomorrow. In order to do so, you'll need to keep yourself safe out there. Wash your hands, but also take some time out and do something that you personally enjoy today. Maybe like watching some more ReddX videos. Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, and you definitely deserve it. I will see you in the next one. And until then, bye-bye.